Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. It's the 21st. It's February. It's 2025. And the New World Order is progressing nicely. They are not cutting us any slack. Anytime people start focusing on any one thing, two more things happen. And it is the craziest things I've ever seen in my years and years of following these shenanigans, hijinks, and crimes against humanity, crimes against humans, crimes against the earth. You know what I'm saying? It's unbelievable. But real quick, a huge shout out to Sheriff Rick and his wife Deb for rallying the troops and finding me a place to put my new calipers on my truck. I got that done. I'm still waiting for a wiring harness to come in. It's supposed to be here tomorrow. Once that gets here, I plug it back in and hopefully everything is back to normal. I am good to go. One of the things, I have checked my email. Confusion in Christianity, Confusion in the Cosmos, which was available on Amazon, like I just left links for in my last video. Well, apparently either A, Amazon completely sold out, or B, Amazon's completely sold out and they don't want this book being offered. So I'm going to leave links to this website where you can not only get the book, but you can get it cheaper than on Amazon. Confusion in the Cosmos and Confusion in Christianity. Both of them on BookBaby are $7 cheaper than Amazon. Why is that? I don't know. I don't write books. I just read them. And this book, I gain nothing from it. The author gains nothing from it. He doesn't even use his real name. He wants no credit for it. But this book isn't an alternative to the Bible. It's a companion to the Bible that has me cracking my Bible 500% more every day than I was previously, because this book explains things that you just wouldn't understand in the Bible. And this book shows in Jesus and the Most High's own words where we live and what we live in and what we're facing right now. So is that why Amazon doesn't want it up? It was up on Amazon and then they took it down, or it was sold out, and then it was up on Amazon again and then they took it down. It's up on BookBaby. I'll leave the links. Get the book because it's a great book. And as you can see, I've read the stuffing out of it. So there, as they say, is that. Now, to some of the doubting Thomases and skeptical people, if you're not making anything off that book, then why are you always pushing it? Well, I'm not pushing it. I'm recommending it. And the reason I know this person, I've known this guy for 7 months now, the author of this book. And he was one of the people when I did a fundraiser about 8 months ago, and I said the top 5, 10 people, I'll come visit you face to face. He was one of those people, and since I visited him originally, I've been back to his property 4 separate times, and I actually talk to him on the phone quite often and text him pretty much daily. He's actually kind of like one of my good friends. He's somebody that I can actually call and ask questions about biblical references and things of that nature. And when some sort of an event occurs, I ask him if I think it has a biblical context, if I'm right or if I'm way off. So that's why I push the book. I make nothing from it. He takes nothing from it. He wrote this book because God put it on his heart. He sat down and wrote this in 2 weeks. This book is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Go look at the reviews on it on Amazon. Those are still up at least. You know what I mean? At any rate, here we go. What's been going on since the last time we spoke? Well, a lot.
Airplane just crashed into
There was no warning from the pilot. There was no like physical warning either. I didn't feel like anything was wrong until kind of just like the second the wheels touched the ground. Then it all kind of went mayhem from there.
Gold likely played a role in the worst water main mess city officials say they have ever seen.
That's right, and it left parts of Detroit's southwest side underwater. The view from Chopper 7 is hard to believe. Blocks and blocks in the area of Lafayette and Beard Streets look more like a lake.
to Live Now from Fox as we continue to follow some breaking news out of Arizona. You are taking a look at some live aerial footage. We are following the latest regarding a deadly plane crash at Marana Regional Airport. Here's what we know so far, courtesy of our partners at Fox 10 in Phoenix. You can see that several investigators, law enforcement officials, first responders are there on the ground.
Say goodbye to the bitter cold, at least for now. The eastern half of the country will see highs around average, which is a big improvement given how cold it has been lately. The west will see high temperatures jump a good 10 to 20 degrees above average, so enjoy it. Along with a warm-up comes the chance for showers and storms along the Gulf Coast this weekend, especially in places like Houston and New Orleans. An atmospheric river will bring more rain and mountain snow to the Pacific Northwest. Flooding is a concern due to rapid snowmelt and additional rain falling on an already saturated ground.
So planes are just literally falling out of the sky, and every time we have really severe or bad weather, somehow man has a problem as well. Do you see what I'm saying? We have an incredible cold snap, and then suddenly at the same time, a 54-inch water main bursts. And it burst for so long that it allows it to completely flood blocks and blocks of a neighborhood up to your windows, and then it freezes. So you can't even get your car out because your entire street, your front door, your car, everything is frozen solid and you can't get to it. Does that sound familiar? It's a lot like this. It's a lot like that time there was these really, really unbelievable Santa Ana winds, and then a bunch of arsonists, and then a bunch of directed energy weapons caused a fire. And when they went to put the fire out, they discovered they didn't have any water in the fire hydrants. That is just inconvenient for people, for the New World Order. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Every time we start wrapping our heads around the last calamity, one or two more happen. Now, as far as the plane crashes, let me point this out, okay? In 2024, 1,415 aviation accidents were reported. 257 fatal, 179 fatal incidents that Newsweek obtained records of. There were 306 reported deaths. So why does it seem like there's so many this year? Well, it's the perception. It's the perception. Well, what does that mean? It means the mainstream media is making sure you know about every single solitary event. If a plane's trolleying down the track and its wing clips another wing, it's front page news. It's a headline news. They're pointing this out because these guys are literally working with other dimensional beings. We see things in 3 dimensions. Other dimensional beings see things like we can't even imagine, and they're playing 30D chess. Do you see what I'm saying? A, you won't be able to fly because you'll be afraid to fly, or with the new social credit system, which will be out here by next year, the new social credit system, you'll be able to fly as long as you haven't posted anything against anything, as long as you haven't watched anything that's against anything, and as long as your carbon footprint is okay. So if you ate a steak this year, well, you might not be able to fly because your carbon credits aren't quite up to snuff. That's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly why they're pointing this out. Everything is multidimensional, no pun intended, but that's why they're doing what they're doing. This is getting insane, but it's going to keep going. It's going to keep speeding up. We're seeing airplanes landing upside down. I've never even heard of anything like that, but you saw it. It happened. The small planes crashing, yeah, that happens. It actually happens quite a bit. And if you remember, several years ago, we were having airplanes falling out of the sky left, right, and center too. It was probably they were probably trying to push the agenda then, but things weren't ready. But things are ready now because King Donald is in office. But before we talk about King Donald and how they've been telling us that Donald Trump will be the king or last president or final dictator or whatever, the water main break, a 54-inch water main. Now, let me explain something to you. Some of you already know this. Maybe you don't. I was a plumber for 20 years. Shockingly, I was asked to leave high school in 10th grade. Fortunately, my uncle was a plumber, and he said, "Hey, nephew, jump on board with me. I'll get you an apprenticeship." And I did so. So I was a plumber for a long, long time, and I was pretty good at it. I know everything about water, fire, gas, fire suppression, I should have said, sprinkler systems, gas, oil, and heating. And a 54-inch water main has computer-controlled safety devices on the valves. Not one, not two, but three. So if the water main breaks, instantaneously a 54 inches, 54-inch water main shuts down. This thing was literally allowed to flood this bad. This is absolutely insane. And they did this because they knew the weather was going to cause all this water to completely freeze, literally locking people, trapping people in. Now think about this. Using the weather recently, they have smoked the people in Kentucky, in the surrounding areas. And right now we're going to have rain all weekend and the weather's going to go up. The temperatures are going to go up on the East Coast. So all that freezing is going to flood all over again, and California is probably going to have landslides, flooding, and all sorts of other wacky events. Remember back in 2020, I said when they go for this, they're going to use weather as a weapon big time. Well, they are. They absolutely are. And you can watch them doing it live. You know what I mean? It's funny. Everybody out here, none of the NextRad towers are pinging, but over here in the Northeast, they're pinging away. Because this is where everybody's freezing. This is where all the snow is. This is where all the ice is. Snow and ice are perfect because it can knock out the power. And even if it doesn't knock out the power, AI or people can simply shut the power off and say that the ice did it. Do you see what I'm saying? But here's the thing. With all this going on, people still don't seem to have an issue with it. They don't see what's coming whatsoever. Donald Trump is literally playing his part. And his part, I showed you this, his part is to be the king, the absolute king. Remember these tarot cards with Donald Trump sitting on top of the world, sitting on what appears to be a throne made of the United States flag, or you could look at it as a toilet, as I originally did back when I originally decoded this. I'll leave a link to this, but now in hindsight, it still stands to reason. Donald Trump is literally doing things that no other president could have gotten away with, but he's got MAGA behind him. There's a reason MAGA, the highest priest in the Satanic Church, his title is called MAGA. And that's exactly what and who Donald Trump is, period. And the amount of spellcraft, witchery, and tomfoolery he's unleashed on Americans and the rest of the world apparently is staggering, because he's literally doing things like this and people don't have an issue with it.
Lastly, we have another executive order that President Trump signed relating to independent agencies. This executive order would establish important oversight functions in the Office of Management and Budget and its subsidiary office, OIRA, supervising independent agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the President or the Attorney General can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
President Trump has signed an executive order meant to give him more control over regulatory government agencies. He's requiring them to send the White House any regulation proposals to be reviewed. The order also says these agencies cannot spend money on anything that doesn't align with the administration. Let's connect now with CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes, who is following all of this for us from West Palm Beach this morning. Nancy, part of the executive order Trump signed says agencies must follow how the president and attorney general interpret the law. Help us understand what that means.
What it means, Errol, is that often various government agencies and departments, as laws come in, they will interpret those laws and incorporate them into their programs and policies. And what this executive order is now saying is that actually, no, those decisions all get made by the Office of the Presidency itself, by the President of the United States. So it's another effort to concentrate power, not in various departments of the government, but actually at the White House itself. And the executive order even goes a step farther, Errol, and says that this even applies to quasi-independent government agencies like the Federal Communications Commission or the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Election Commission, that have long had some autonomy from the White House and, in fact, were created that way. What this executive order is now saying is that they've got to run their interpretations of the law by the White House as well, and that their funding could be impacted if the White House determines that they are making decisions without White House input.
I want to share with our viewers something the president posted, Ed. It's a message that reads in part, quote, "Long live the king." And this is after he ended New York's congestion pricing. Of course, the founders of the U.S. famously left my homeland of England precisely because they don't want to live under a king. So what is the thinking here?
Well, it's a good question, Errol. It continues to suggest that he is someone who's trying to demonstrate to his supporters, at least, that he's getting things done. And
So this is crazy. Trump's doing things that no other president could possibly get away with. But right now, this is all happening. They're already looking to extend so that he can run for a third term. And he's doing everything in the first couple of weeks. I mean, this is insane. Think about what's happened since he's been inaugurated. Think about the terror attacks. Think about the calamities that we've had. Non-stop weather events, airplanes falling from the skies. Let's not forget that we still to this minute have drones flying all over the Northeast that no one's ever accounted for. The first thing I do when I get in office, I'm going to find out this, that, and the other thing. They're not finding out anything. And there's certain channels that are pushing the narrative that there's UFOs up there that are knocking our planes out of the sky. Shut up. Stop talking about that, okay? Don't talk about Wernher von Braun in the last card if you don't understand that on von Braun's headstone, he put this. This is his actual headstone. His family had it put here. He wanted this particular biblical verse put on it. Wernher von Braun, 1912 to 1977. Yes, Apollo, the three horsemen, ex Luna Scientia. Yes, Psalm 19:1, which says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." That's it. That's all it says. Why would somebody that was sending rockets up into outer space put a biblical verse on his headstone for all to see for time immemorial that only says 10 words, and one of them is the firmament? Do you see what I'm saying? So don't talk about the last card and then start talking about UFOs from outer space knocking down our airplanes or asteroids coming in. Every single solitary year since I've been doing this, NASA talks about asteroids. They just throw it out there to see what it'll do, blah, blah, blah. They don't really care. But with Donald Trump being the new king of America, people need to pay attention because this has been in the works for quite a while. He's back. He's passing laws that should never be passed, ever. And here's some of the things you don't really hear too much. This, the digital dollar, get out of here. The digital dollar needs to be in place this year, 2025, and they just talked about it at Davos. So he needs to pass all the laws. He needs to get all the laws in place so that everybody can understand what's going on. And then by the end of 2025, we need to be on a digital dollar. Do you know what that means? Myself and any one of you people that actually stand your ground, and any of you people that really are concerned about your eternal soul, because eternity is bazillions of times more than just the lifetime that we've had on this earth. Eternity is forever, and you're in your most perfect form. If you're going to stick to your guns, you're not going to be able to participate with the digital dollar because you'll have to be vaccinated. You'll have to follow the rules. You'll have to denounce God, first of all, because they've got a new God. They've got a new AI God, a super God, the best God ever, Doge or E-God, however you want to say it. So with all these things being in place, now they can do some sort of airplanes falling out of the sky, except this time it'll be on all of the banks. Do you see what I'm saying? All of the banks. They're going to take all of your money out of the bank, or hackers will do it, or Russia will do it, or right-wingists will do it, or transgenders will do it, or who knows, you know what I mean? Joe Biden will do it. But they've got to get it done by 2025. They just had a meeting at Davos about it. It will be next. It'll be on par. But first, Trump has to sign all these things into law that make him in charge of everything. Did you hear that one thing where they said he's going to be in charge of?
Agencies must follow how the president and attorney general interpret the law. Help us understand what that means.
What it means, Errol, is that often various government agencies and departments, as laws come in, they will interpret those laws and incorporate them into their programs and policies. And what this executive order is now saying is that actually, no, those decisions all get made by the office of the presidency itself, by the president of the United States. So it's another effort to concentrate power, not in various departments of the government, but actually at the White House itself. And the executive order even goes a step farther, Errol, and says that this even applies to quasi-independent government agencies like the Federal Communications Commission or the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Election Commission.
The Securities and Exchange Committees. Yeah, seems like they're getting ready to make a move. Why would the president suddenly be the authority on these laws coming in? How does Donald Trump, the real estate tycoon, know how to translate laws? You know what I mean? It's not his job. It's not what he does. That's why there are different branches of government. But they're setting everything up so they can bring in the digital dollar, because that's going to give them the absolute ultimate control. And in the meantime, he's just going to keep passing these crazy executive orders that give him, that put all the power directly at the top of the pyramid, and then they're going to continue to use the weather to destroy, disrupt, and completely demoralize America, and just completely blame it on climate change. Do you see what I'm saying? It's insane. It's insane. And that's why I tell you to get your money out of the bank, because one of these days you're going to wake up and your bank's going to be an upside down plane on fire that doesn't make any sense, that no one's ever seen before. And the victim's going to be your retirement. They're going to take all your money, one way or the other. Mark my words. But on that, let's go to a different note real quick. Something that Americans should be doing, but they just don't seem to have the nerve. Apparently New Zealanders do.
Police are investigating allegations of assault after members of Destiny Church stormed a pride event at a community library in Auckland, forcing young children to hide. The protesters also squared off with officers during the city's annual Rainbow Parade. Despite widespread condemnation, church leader 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗄 denies anyone was violent and insists the protests were peaceful.
So real quick, we've got a gay pride event, because you can't be gay unless everybody knows it. You have to have parades where people are naked, whatever, and the protesters show up that caused a bunch of small children to have to hide. Why were there small children there? Because there always is. There always is. You know what I'm saying? But I digress.
No pot of gold at the end of the Rainbow Parade last night. Destiny Church members disrupting 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗄's largest pride event.
But where this group crossed the line yesterday in both events was there is a difference.
Okay, I just have to point out the gay pride organizer's name. Really? Seriously? But I digress.
There is a difference between freedom of speech and hate speech, and that was clearly what they had set out to do. They had clearly set out to intimidate, to bully, and to get their message of misinformation across.
Police estimated it took them 3 minutes to clear the protesters.
Just past the front of the protest, none of the rest of the participants even knew that there'd been a disruption.
But they're now investigating church members for their actions at a Te Atatu Rainbow event for children earlier on Saturday.
I said, go as peacefully as you can. We are peaceful protesters. Into the building, you've got a right to. They had tickets. You know, these people stepped out in front.
We respect people's right to free speech. We respect people's right to peaceful protests. They went too far.
But today, Destiny Church's leader was unrepentant.
I've gone too far in protecting my children? I doubt it. What I'm saying here is that they haven't gone far enough. This government needs to have some balls and begin to deal with the problem that we have in the Rainbow Pride community.
Calling on the PM to do a Trump and declare 2 genders.
Chris, you know, you need to do an Elon Musk with me.
This weekend follows on from targeted protests against rainbow initiatives around the country last year. The condemnation for their latest actions is growing, the mayor calling it thuggery. And at the big gay out today, others agreeing.
So to me, Man Up is the same. And also, Tamaki and his goons on their motorbikes, they're a gang and they're patched. So why are they not on the list to be depatched as well? They're a cult.
Daphne Bush enjoying being herself and taking the long view of the church's actions.
Well, I think we've all just got to work together. And yeah, I mean, they've been doing it for years, doing it.
This is what a mentally ill person looks like. I wouldn't let this person anywhere near children, and people should have done this when it originally started, and maybe we wouldn't be in the position where we are. We actually have to literally have a president say there's only two genders. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, because there aren't, and there's no such thing as a rocket scientist. The only scientists we have are trying to break into other dimensions. But at least New Zealand had the balls to stand up to it. Sadly, they're literally invoking a demon, whether they know it or not. I'm sure it's something their ancient tribal people taught them, but it's still a demon. It is what it is. But I still admire the fact that these guys stood up. You know what I'm saying? This is just getting absolutely insane. But at any rate, Richie from Boston, and I believe I'm out.